Hello everyone, Prashant Mishra this side. As you know, there is a conflict between Russia and Ukraine right now, and what's happening is there is an equivalent impact on the cyber side. So today we will understand what is cyber warfare, what is happening between Russia and Ukraine in terms of cyber warfare, what countries are getting impacted, what is the history around it, and what can potentially be the damage. So with that, let me go into my presentation, and I'll see you there. Hello, friends. So let's get into Russia-Ukraine cyber warfare. So as you know, what's happening is there's an ongoing invasion done by Russia on Ukraine. It has happened in the last few days, and the conditions on the ground are really bad. Okay, there are enough media outlets covering this, so I will not get into details of what's happening in terms of the ground forces movement. But from the cyber side, let's understand what cyber warfare is. Okay. Then I'll talk about what's happening in Russia and Ukraine, right? So, in most basic sense, it is essentially an attack where IT systems, which are used by various private or public agencies, including people like you and me, with an objective to cause damage. Now, this typically means systems that control our day-to-day lives, day-to-day operations of various businesses. They are hacked, which can lead to both economic as well as the well-being of people of that country. Okay. Now there are typically 7 types of cyber warfare attacks: espionage, sabotage, denial of service, electrical power grid, propaganda attacks, economic disruption, and surprise attack. Let's look into what these are. Okay, so espionage, as you most of you would know, this is one of the oldest methods to steal secrets from one country. Okay, sabotage is then using that information to destroy, damage, or obstruct for political and military advantage. Denial of service is an attack typically on the websites. Or online businesses, where instead of sending regular requests, you are sending millions of fake requests, and eventually the website can't handle it and it crashes. Okay, so that service becomes unusable. Now imagine IRCTC going offline. Okay, which is the popular website used by millions of people in our country to book their railway travel. Okay. Now, the next one is the power grid, or essentially we can call it critical infrastructure. So, anything that is related to day-to-day life, which is water, electricity, gas pipelines. Okay, all these, if they are tagged and their normal state of operations are disabled, then it will create havoc in the country. The next one is the propaganda attacks. In this, using the thoughts of, or controlling the thoughts of people for a particular agenda is done, and typically done using social media. Okay, and we have seen multiple examples of this in last 2-3 years. And then economic disruption, which is the attackers try to take over any systems or businesses that are involved in financial markets or economy, like stock markets, banks, and payment wallets, etc., so that people can't access money, or even attackers can steal money. There is a case study of how Bangladesh got hacked a few years back. Just Google Bangladesh Swift hack and you'll get good details of it. And then of course the surprise attack, which is when the enemy is not expecting, somebody attacks and taking the enemy by surprise, and it weakens the defenses. Okay. Now, is it new? It's not. Okay, so I've been in the industry for a long time, and I've been part of some of this. Now, what I've realized is anywhere there is a geopolitical conflict, you will have such kind of things happening in parallel. So Taiwan reported earlier last year that China attacks them constantly, and they see 5 million attacks every day. Okay, and China attacks India also. They attack a lot of countries, whoever they think can be a danger to them or their motives. US has been publicizing a lot of information around threats by Russian and Chinese actors or Chinese government trying to get into their critical infrastructure. Uh, and then there have been multiple cases like the Syrian Electronic Army was a group of hackers which are pro-Bashar in Syria, and they were responsible to hack major websites in Qatar. Okay, and then recently, or last year essentially, Chinese some of the people from Chinese army were charged with computer fraud and economic espionage because the US government found proof of their hacking into the infrastructure of US government. Okay, and then there is a new model where countries like North Korea, they are using hacking or cyber warfare to fund their activities. So example, last year, what North Korea did is they launched a ransomware to hold people's systems unusable, and they would only release those systems or let people use those systems when they get money in Bitcoin currency. Okay, there have been cases where they were known to hack ATMs, steal cryptocurrency from end users, and use that to fund their day-to-day activities or whatever they are trying to do in the country. Okay, so that's also getting common now. Is it happening in India? Yes, it is happening in India for a long time. I've been into cases years back, not anymore, where we could see in assessments that our company was doing that a lot of traffic was going to China, right? And it's a known thing in intelligence that Chinese or Pakistani or some of the other countries are trying to get into our systems. Okay, Bipin Rawat Saab mentioned that that China is already attacking or doing cyber attacks on a lot of Indian systems, and our best defense is to keep the outage limited. And in fact, what China was doing is essentially attacking at the same time when they were doing physical activity in or at the line of control. Okay, so what these countries are doing, they are doing both physical as well as online clashes. Okay, or call it hybrid warfare. Okay, now this is not new. As I said, the first formal case study of this was done in 2010 with a malware or a malicious software called Stuxnet, where it is rumored to be created by the intelligence agencies of Israel, Britain, and America. Again, I'm not a threat intelligence researcher, so I can't validate the source of this, but I read it in some of the blogs. And what this malware did is it disabled the nuclear equipment or nuclear research equipment in Iran. Okay, now what that did is physically damaged the hardware there, and the research of years has gone to waste, right? So push the entire program back for years, and so that's possible. Okay, then in 2014, Russia attacked Ukraine using a denial of service attack. Russia had their electronic commission also, okay, to rig the elections, and there were rumors of how US elections were also rigged by Russian hackers, right? And then China has been hacking US for a lot of reasons, and Office of Personal Management was hacked, and they stole records of 21.5 million people, right? And then a power outage was done by Russia in Ukraine in 2016. Now imagine power going in a country for 4 or 5 days or 10 days, right? That's very hard thing to imagine. Now, again in 2017, what happened is a ransomware called WannaCry or Petya Notpad as well as NotPetya, they were launched, and they not only attacked government systems but also systems of people like you and me, and it is known to be one of the worst cyber attacks in the history. Okay, now why do they do that? They are typically one, they go with specific industries, so they either will go with weapons and missile development agencies or businesses involved in vehicle, aircraft design, software and IT, data analytics, logistics, essentially to understand what's happening in that particular country, right? And what are they monitoring? They are looking for information or exfiltrating information like email communication, contracts, product development, test and timelines, foreign partnership and funding, so that they know what's happening in that country. What are the lead companies, top companies doing um, for growth. Okay, now let's come back to the original topic. What's happening in the current war between Russia and Ukraine? So as I said, this is not new. Russia has been trying to get into their systems or trying to get those systems on for so many years, but in January it started first with the cyber warfare again. And I don't have the exact timeline, but this is what I could collate. So Microsoft reported that there was a malware targeting Ukrainian organization, and it was called Whispergate. And it typically, what did it would format the entire system, so that system is not usable. Okay, and what also happened is, just before the attacks, and this is a press release from Symantec from on 24th Feb, that just before the attack, there was another version of this malware called Viper, which they sent and got the government systems infected, so that people can't communicate. Once you can't communicate over emails, which is the most common way of communicating, apart from phone, it's very hard to send messages to your units. Okay, and then of course the ministers are telling that there have been a lot of attacks on their government websites, so sites are down, and Viper malware is again part of a lot of these attacks. Okay, a few days back, ESET Research, which is a company in cybersecurity, they reported that there's a new malware which wipes the data of the system. It's being discovered, and it has been installed on hundreds of machines in the country. And what it does, it also uses its capabilities to attack the local websites, so that people can't use them. And earlier today, what I also noticed is that one of the pro Ukraine hacker group called Anonymous, we call them hacktivists. These are essentially independent people who are trying to support a cause. They started intercepting Russian military communication and released it in public forums on Twitter. Just Google this, you will get this news, right? So that's what is happening. So net, there is an ongoing physical tussle as well as the cyber tussle that's happening between these two countries. Okay, and both sides are fighting at both the lines, right? And then Palo Alto's Unit 42 research team also concluded that there is a group called Primitive Bear, or also called Gamradon. They are trying to target Ukraine, and they are funded by Russia. Okay, now one question that you might be thinking is, how does it impact us, right? Now, one thing I want to highlight is that these softwares which are created for a particular campaign, they eventually land up in the general world. Some people release these software code also, and then some other hackers will use the same code to launch it in public. So the NotPetya ransomware, it created the world's worst cyber attack, right, in 2018. And I know of agencies or departments that were completely down for days and days. Okay, so be careful. Cybersecurity hygiene is important, right? And then US has always been warning all these government agencies, not just US, but a lot of agencies or countries who have dedicated cyber intelligence departments. They've been warning that these conflicts eventually will escalate, and anybody who's trying to speak in favor of Ukraine or against Russia, they will get attacked. Okay, either by hacktivists or the government-based hackers. Now, what can we do about it? Is we can just follow basic cybersecurity hygiene, keep our systems updated, don't install pirated software. And then there are companies like Palo Alto who are giving you guidance on how to protect against these. Okay, I have collected all this information from general news sources, with as the websites I've mentioned, and also threat intelligence from various cybersecurity companies that are listed here. Okay, and I'm sure there are more. Thank you so much. Some of the books I highly recommend are these. My favorite has been Kevin Mitnick's Ghost in the Wires. A pretty good book. Also, some of these people are either ex-intelligence people or people in the cyber intelligence domain who have seen these things happening in their infrastructure. Okay, so I would highly recommend you to go through some of these books. With that, thank you so much. Now, if you have any suggestions for any more content in cybersecurity that you want to understand, then please make sure you comment in on this video. Also, like, share, and subscribe this channel, because I want more people in the world to be aware of cybersecurity and more people to take cybersecurity as their profession. Thank you so much.